We don't have victories anymore. We used to have victories, but we don't have them. When was the last time anybody saw us beating, let's say, China in a trade deal? They kill us. I beat China all the time.
Donald Trump lives to win, in business, in politics, with money, with women. As a young businessman, he took on vastly ambitious projects. He would battle with state and federal governments. He humiliated his enemies. Sometimes, he wrote, part of making a deal is denigrating your competition. The deal and his ability to strike it is his great boast. His charisma, on show in front of vast, adoring crowds for more than a year, is part of the package. His supporters say these qualities can help end dysfunction in Washington. The flip side, often on show in this extraordinary campaign, is his perceived narcissism and a take-no-prisoners view of life. Life is a series of battles, he said in the early 80s, ending in victory or defeat. There remain many questions thrown up by his character. How will he deal with reverses? How open is he to new ideas and different points of view? We will have so much winning if I get elected, you may get bored of winning, said Mr. Trump more than a year ago. America has a winner now. But what, beyond victory, the prize is, we have yet to find out.
In other news, at least 7 people were killed when a tram derailed in Croydon in South London during the morning rush hour, tipping onto its side. More than 50 people were taken to hospital, some of them had serious injuries. Investigators say the tram was travelling much faster than is permitted. The driver has been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter. Our correspondent, Robert Hall, reports from the scene of the accident.
It was a rush-hour journey on a line which carries millions every year. But tonight, the 2-car tram lies on its side close to Croydon Sandilands station as investigators try to establish how this tragedy unfolded. The first calls had come in soon after 6 this morning. Emergency responders arrived to find some injured passengers walking from the train, others still trapped beneath it. Andy Smith heard the crash and ran to the scene.
Heard a loud screeching noise, like a car applying its brakes, but 3 or 4 times louder than that, followed by quite a loud bang. Now, bearing in mind this was in the distance, the bang was loud enough, so that must have been quite some impact as the tram was turning onto its side. I crossed over the road and then I could hear screaming and shouting.
51 people were taken to hospital, some of them seriously injured. The death toll rose as recovery work continued. By the time London Mayor Sadiq Khan arrived to be briefed by emergency crews, 5 people were confirmed dead, but he said that figure might rise further.
My prayers, my thoughts are with family members and loved ones, but also I want to pay tribute to the hard-working men and women behind me who will be working when it gets dark as well to make sure the recovery part of this operation is a success.
The tram driver was arrested and questioned. Late this afternoon, police said they'd established the tram had been travelling significantly faster than was allowed for this section of track.
The Supreme Court has ruled in favour of 2 families challenging the government's cuts to housing benefit for claimants who are considered to have a spare room. The justices found that the measure discriminated against people who needed an extra room because of their disability. Sarah Campbell was in court.
Labour christened it the bedroom tax. The government insisted it be referred to as the spare room subsidy. In the case of Jacqueline and Joseph Carmichael, it meant a reduction in their housing benefit because they were deemed to have a spare room. The couple live in a 2-bedroom flat. She's severely disabled, and they argued that as they can't both sleep in her specially adapted bed, they need the extra bedroom. To the couple's delight, the Supreme Court agreed. They also ruled that another family, the Rutherfords, do have a medical need for an extra bedroom. 5 other claims were dismissed, with the court ruling the legality of the so-called bedroom tax was not in question.
In the city, the 100 share index closed up 69 points at 6,912. In New York, a short time ago, the Dow Jones was up 165 points at 18,498. On the currency markets, the pound was unchanged against the dollar at $1.24. Against the euro, it was up 0.1 of a cent at €1.14, making a euro worth 88 pence. Cricket, and England made a strong start to their tour of India, finishing the first day of the first test in Rajkot on 311 for 4. Joe Root made 124 runs, becoming the first non-Indian to score a Test century in the country for more than 3 years. Now back to our main story and the election of Donald Trump as the 45th President of the United States. The political novice, who presented himself as a Washington outsider, was backed by a number of swing states to give him victory over Hillary Clinton. The Republican will hold talks at the White House with President Obama tomorrow. The North America editor, John Sopel, considers how Mr. Trump will cope with the most powerful job in the world.
It was a former mayor of New York who once said that you campaign in poetry and govern in prose. Donald Trump didn't do that. He campaigned with a flamethrower and a flick knife. But how will he govern? What was striking about his acceptance speech in the early hours of this morning was the conciliatory tone. Hillary Clinton was no longer Crooked Hillary and the most corrupt politician ever. She was the distinguished public servant who was congratulated on her tough campaign. No longer was he sticking it to people. He was trying to bind wounds. In fact, you could say Donald Trump sounded just like any other politician. But how will that play with the millions of Americans who voted for him to be anything but a figure of the establishment? He's due to meet the current president tomorrow at the White House, where they'll discuss the transition. Barack Obama will be wondering what will be left of his legacy when he leaves office. His signature policy achievement, affordable healthcare, Donald Trump has promised to repeal and replace. Ambitious trade deals will be shelved, plans for immigration reform reversed, and foreign policy looks set to be very different indeed. It wasn't just Hillary Clinton who suffered a crushing defeat last night.
BBC News.
The news was read by Caroline Nichols. This is BBC Radio 4. And now, on a momentous day in US history, here is the final installment of Rich Hall's US Election Breakdown.
From high atop BBC studios in Washington, D.C., it's Rich Hall's U.S. Election Breakdown! The phone lines are open at 555-0101. Now welcome your host, Rich Hall!
Welcome to U.S. Election Breakdown. I'm Rich Hall. 555-0101 is the number. Lines are open at 6 a.m. here in Washington, D.C. Millions and millions of people are waking up on the East Coast. And if you listen carefully, any minute now, you'll be able to hear the biggest collective "what the" in the history of public outbursts. Here's today's top stories. Brick suppliers along the U.S. southern border get a jolt of good economic news. Hands on doomsday clock reportedly spinning out of control like a Warner Brothers cartoon. And seismic activities in Northern Virginia attributed to corpse of Thomas Jefferson spinning in his grave. Let's go to caller on line 1. Hello, it's Satan. How you doing, Satan?
Friggin' cold down here, Rich. Need blankets.
Thanks for calling, Satan. Line 2, State of New Hampshire. You're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Rich. It's New Hampshire. Look, what are the chances we could come back to England?
What?
Join back up with Hampshire. This whole independence thing isn't working out anymore.
You want to rejoin Hampshire?
What's up, Basingstoke? Yo, Wagner Regis. Your little baby's coming home.
All right, thanks. 555-0101 is the number, folks. I'm joined as always by my intern, producer, and possibly shell-shocked British person, Nick Duty. Nick! What do you think?
Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America. What's the worst thing that could happen? Oh, sorry, I got those two sentences the wrong way around. Donald Trump will be the next president of the USA. In other news, a lawnmower has just been elected Pope. Kermit the Frog has been arrested and suspected of the murder of Joan of Arc. And Fisherman's Friends are now accepted as currency in Luxembourg. All bets are off now. The news is just fridge magnets.
What other news have you uncovered?
Our job is to show the lighter side of the US elections. Right now that feels like putting sunglasses on a dog that's just been run over. I'm not saying this is the end, but it might be a good idea to start gathering 2 of every animal. Sad for Mexico too. The peso just plummeted just when they're about to have loads of places to put cash machines.
It's the pollsters, I'm telling you. The Pollsters.
Yeah,
They screwed it all up.
pollsters have to admit they're just not a thing anymore. They're just back there as soothsayers and phrenologists. Just sifting through entrails is at least as